Poem that I wrote for my 5-year-old. It's called Noland Land. Have you ever been to Noland Land, far across the shimmering sea, filled with sheep, yaks, and orangutans living beneath bonbon trees? Have you ever visited Noland's Nook, with a place to hang your hat on a hook and get a cup of soup from Cookie the Cook, who works from a nearby ingle nook? Or took a trek to Noland's Now. Atop there's a swing attached to a bough of a sturdy poplar tree. Below runs a river where kayaks float by, in which poems are written beneath a smiling sky, and songs from gongs serenade these sailors along the way. Oh, the nifty worlds that Noland explores when he's not making the rounds or doing his chores, checking up on his Nana and Grandpop as well, bringing cheer to all who have stopped by for a spell.
My mother, and something else we did in the fall, earlier in the fall. I would often help her go out and pick wild grapes called fox grapes. They were all over our property and near our property. Fox grapes make amazing jelly. It's my favorite kind of jelly. You sweeten it, but it's always tart. And so I was thinking about my mother and all the work she did on our property, even when she was hampered by arthritis. So the poem ends with how she's dealing with her arthritis. And she's still alive. She's 97, about to turn 98, but has terrible arthritis. So it's called Evensong. Mother has gathered the last fox grapes by the stone wall on the hill, boiled them and bled them through cheesecloth. I dip my finger in the purple juice dripping into a bowl in the back sink, touch my tongue and wince. Tomorrow she will add sugar and pectin, let the mix gel in ball jars sealed with paraffin, and store them in the barn. Now she limps down the path through Christmas trees into the evensong of crickets and tree frogs by the pond. This is her ritual, to wait on the rusted bench next to the spillway for lights to go out in houses along the road, to take off her clothes and swim until the cold numbs her aching joints and she's weightless as stars on the dark water.
One of my 2026 Pushcart Prize nominations. It's called The Path, Ways to Help a Creative, for Kara. Bring them water, apply the salve, cut the wood and double it. Sort the laundry, excuse the piled dishes, their crusty excess. Make the tea, add the sugar, welcome the sunlight and pull the weeds. Rub the sore muscles, move the rock. Fill the glass again and again. When they judge themselves, their work, remind them it's not good or bad, it's just a part of the process. Remind them it's difficult forging your own path without a model or mentor. Weigh the grain, mill the flour, feed the starter, and begin again. Bring them water. Kathleen is right. I do have a new collection, Solemnity Rites. This came out in June of this year with Prolific Pulse Press. And the first poem that I'm going to read from this was published in Big Windows Review, and it also has my art on it. I feel very fortunate to be able to say that. So this is Gravity. It's a surprise every time when I see a beetle, but it's really a brittle curled leaf. A thin stick, but it's a dry worm. A bit of bumpy rock, but it's a tiny toad, and I wonder, are the seasons simply inhalations and exhalations? The pupils of my eyes black holes? Am I pulled forever in because even gravity cannot escape? Is it a flattened squirrel or shred of tire in the road? Dumb or a cicada casing? Flower petals or tiny, furry, white aphids of a sort? These ambiguities shouldn't surprise me. After all, the solar system is perhaps an atom with its massive empty space and small orbiting particles, like the sky and oceans of the earth, so vast and uninterrupted. The carbon in my body was formed in a star over billions of years ago. My organs or the Earth's, lungs or rainforests, isn't it all the same? I breathe out spring, aware after all that sometimes all of life is the same to the gravity of our eyes.
One of Cedric's suggestions, so I wish he were here to hear it, but he's heard the altered version. And this is to go with a quilt, which, again, you'll need to look at. You could come up and look at the book later. It's a traditional quilt style called Bargello, and Bargello is where you take, you make strips and you stagger them, and then you quilt it. And it's really funny because I had to thank my mother-in-law for the design of this poem because this was a fairly traditional quilt and I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I had to replace another quilt that was out on tour, and I said, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. And she goes, well, you know, that quilt, I go, I don't know how I'm going to replace this quilt because the other one's already gone out on tour. And she said, well, you know, that quilt kind of looks like a heat wave with those grapes. And I said, oh my God, you've got it, global warming. So, this quilt, the Bargello, and then I wrote a poem about viticulture during global warming. Rising heat index affects the harvest. Some vineyards, blessed by heat in times past, now scorched by high temperatures, have withered vines and low harvest. Other vineyards, newly planted with vines that were judged too cool to plant in the past, have sprouts that appear most promising. Vintners chortle with glee with the thought of a first varietal harvest, a first new wine. Almanacs cast aside, scratching heads, vintners consult new oracles, try new varieties in each field. Almost a third of all vineyards on earth swelter and sway with global warming trends. How Bacchus, Ariadne, and the Maenads feast and toast this new development. Tipsy in their global firmament, they celebrate the resilience of mere mortals who carry on godly traditions of wine, women, and songs in spite of the challenges caused by mortal flaws.
How have I wronged you? Let me know. I am deathless and depthless. and the air lets me show. And now is never, never. Before you leave the motel, you better check the weather. You should check for rain. Humidity in Williamsburg is overt in here. Gawk and gander, you are the beast that pulls the cart of nothing. Nothing is tourism. Grander, grander. Go and get wild and angry and old. Love is what you see. Gossip is lively. Listen to the rhyme of rain and street and history as crime. To the tap of the street musician, forget nothing. You fled your social responsibility. You believe in the vain and the senses. And that is fiction is once. And many you are, many. The James
I think his name was Dr. Powers, but I sort of forgot. Anyhow, I think I will read that. It's set at a time like now. As you all know, I grew up on a Christmas tree farm. We were
being a nerd. I too am a nerd. And I grew up loving Star Trek. And in Where No Man Has Gone Before, which I believe premiered as the first episode of the original series, there's a moment where a poem is being read aloud by someone in the future. And it's very intriguing, and it's about an alien. And this is just vaguely inspired by this concept. I always wished I could hear the rest of that poem, and I thought it was very exciting that this was one of the things that we could look forward to in the future, having a library available at your beck and call with poems from around the universe. But this is sort of a science fiction / horror poem. To hear you speak. There's nothing that might move me much except to hear you speak, my lover of the cloven wings and of the silver beak. What poetry would sprout to life, true to your graceful breed? Each word a pearl from rainbow spout, each epigram a creed. Who might resist the wise, succinct, and pointed words, as sharp as feathers steel or rosebud claw, lodged delicate in my heart? Since inspiration from your kind first struck us, true and whole, the human blood drawn in your quill, ecstatic to the soul, I've trembled, quivering for the day you'll pipe to me alone, pin me with sly and speaking eye, and pluck me to the bone. The Ghosts of Winters Past by Adele Gardner. This is part of my series of poems inspired by the photograph Cold Storage by Richard C. Eisner in the collections of the Mariners Museum. The world grows white in Eisner's photograph. Cold storage, getting colder as boats bump with hollow knock. Deep note of empty wood, granddad of hollow-bodied instruments. A lonely song, with none to listen save the honking Canada goose and black-throat loon whose weary wail transcends the frozen lake. Her last plea for companions echoes, sharp, as snowy stillness muffles outside world. The boats await their cargo, snow and dreams, as light as fleecy white of childhood home, whose winter gusts rushed family into spring, while my heart stayed behind. My way back, catching each rare flake that fell, to walk my way through evergreen and white, in lonely strolls each time the snow came, once or twice a winter. Eisner's photo, though, holds snowlight warm in sepia's snow-cast sky, a sliver of calm protected and preserved by framing view like my furred parka hood. The photo's snow falls all around me now, my slice of time in sequence with the boats, time smoothed like ground by snow, unbroken, plain, as clear as drifts eternally captured here. I wake to find my longed-for snowy day here on Virginia's shore. Such snows are rare. I'm longing for Yates County all the time. An upstate New York winter, Cuba Lake. I can't go north, but north wind comes to me, snow thick as lake effect. A world transformed to frost's bleak beauty, Yates's lake lapping peace. My heart, my heart. And yet my heart is here. You wouldn't call this exile. Family warm me like snuggling cats against the cold. That's what this longing mostly is for snow. My childhood. Daddy gave me shoulder rides to bus stop with the snow too deep to walk. My baby brothers couldn't go outside. Mom said they'd disappear beneath that white. Sledding down hills in one blue plastic boat, 3 siblings with Dad chortling behind. Down south, Dad chips the ice from bricks. His coat, brown corduroy, black collar of fake fur, the same that carried him through New York frosts. The hushed wind whispers of my winters past. I shiver, rocked by beauty like the boats, here in cold storage, glass-framed time machine, eternal mooring, all that winter means.
So I'm going to read one poem from this book, and I actually, okay, I know which one I'm going to do. And it's going to be, it's going to be humorous. Where's Amoeba? Okay, so this is, let me get, okay, so you can almost see it from where you are. I can pass it around, or you can look at it afterwards. And it's actually based on an expressionist painting by Kandinsky. He's one of my favorite artists. Vasily Kandinsky made this painting which he called Stars, and it looks like an amoeba if you're a scientist. He had no clue what he was painting because they weren't even looking in the microscope back in the early 1900s. But he called it Stars, and the first time I looked at it, of course I love it because I love everything Kandinsky, but it's an amoeba. All right, so I made a quilt based on his amoeba painting, and then when I made my quilt, I was like, well, I need a poem to go with this. So it's kind of a fun poem. Amoeba. I can't fit inside an amoeba. There's no me in it. Just a single cell focused on eating bacteria and waste, chock full of vacuoles and vesicles. It's a living sewage treatment plant. Yet woe to me if I get an amoeba in me. That tiny thing can eat my brain, make me go blind, give me dysentery, lose weight, and worse. So I give that tiny creature a wide berth, keep good hygiene, keep my head up, cook my food well, hope the amoeba stays in the sludge where it belongs. Just a cute little poem. Okay, that's it for me. Anyways.
This first poem is How We Met. We met on New Year's Eve at a mutual friend's house overlooking water. Its blue glass, a bed for stars, and the quarter of moon not yet swallowed. The petulant calendar clung to its last page and all the year's sins, forestalling midnight's arrival. Inside, amid ubiquitous glissandos of laughter, I roved from one flock of sequin gowns to the next, clasping a plate of canapes and crackers like a prop. Upstairs, behind a barking door, I found you, with the host's 2 collies, party dress hiked to thighs as you squatted to scratch behind their ears. My spine felt the twining of our DNA before we'd even said hello, before our night-long conversation spooled into each other's helix, before I raced to water's edge to help shoot fireworks, their explosions bathing you at the top of a hill, your upturned face glimmering. Dawn.
Christmas trees. My mother taught me how to make wreaths, so I make wreaths all the time around this time of the year. And I was teaching my son how to make a wreath, but then, as you'll see, the poem goes in a different direction. So it's called Rings, a wreath for my son. I bend a coat hanger in a ring, wind it with duct tape, tighten wire around sprigs of holly. Thorns prick my hands with blood. This is the way you do it, I tell my son, clockwise until you circle back to the beginning. Last December, a plastic surgeon aspirated a lump beneath his eye. An MRI revealed a small mass shaped like a barbell on his cheekbone. You need to go to the Children's Hospital of the King's Daughters as soon as possible, the doctor said. Today, on the other side of the hedge, a neighbor shouts at his cell phone about the death of taxes. His voice hovers with chimney smoke beneath the moon's bone ring. My hands turn pale as the bald heads of kids at the cancer center. I need to go inside and warm up, I tell my son. And I should finish my essay about odd numbers for my college app, he says. It's about my tumor being the 21st in medical history. Do you remember how to spell epithelioid hemangioma? My hands keep shivering as I swipe my phone for the surgeon's email with the x-rayed skull and ring of bone screws. So checking my phone to figure out how to spell epithelioid hemangioma. I think his name was Dr. Powers, but I sort of forgot. Anyhow, I think I will read that. It's set at a time like now. As you all know, I grew up on a Christmas tree farm. We were